The frustration to me is that at this point, I mean, there's been talk about mass transit forever. I mean, I've been mayor for 9 months, but the discussion of bettering our mass transit system has gone on for 20 years. But right now, because I think heightened interest in the environment, younger people moving to the city who are used to having better access to mass transit, and the high cost of fuel, there is the demand, and it's growing. And so it's frustrating when the demand is actually there that you can't meet it. In Nashville, we just completed our budget this week on Tuesday, and really the biggest issue that came up during the course of doing the budget was the big hole we had in our public transportation authority, which came from the increase in fuel costs. So in a year where there's a huge demand for really increased services, additional capacity, we were able to do less because of the cost of fuel. Well, Nashville is clearly the hub of Middle Tennessee, and Nashville is a little bit unique. In 1963, we created a metropolitan government, which is a unified government of the county and the city, covers 503 square miles. And that was a major impetus to our growth and our prosperity. But now those 503 square miles are a lot smaller than they were in '63, and we need to work on a regional basis with all the surrounding counties. I mean, what's good for them generally has been good for us. When we prosper, they prosper. But on issues such as the environment, transportation, I think on tourism, economic development, there clearly is going to be a need for us to cooperate on a regional basis. And Nashville has a key role to play in that, since we're by far the largest city and by far the largest economy of Middle Tennessee. I do think fundamentally that the federal government and the state government are going to look toward regions that are working together, working toward regions that actually can be responsible and come up with funding. Those are the ones that are going to be rewarded. Those are the ones that are going to make the fast advances. And I would like to position Nashville and Middle Tennessee to do that. Now there's an effort to amend our Metro Charter, which was, again, with '63, which created the government, to say that Metro services could only be provided in English. I think it sends all the wrong messages. We need to be the friendliest city. We need to be a welcoming city. We need to be an open city. I don't think we're sending the right message if we're saying we're not going to greet our visitors in their own language if we have the capacity to do that. In many ways, I think this sort of a charter amendment would hurt the city. And I'm opposed to it, and I'm hoping the citizens, hope it doesn't get on the ballot, but if it does, there's a democratic process to put it on the ballot. If it gets there, it's there. I hope the citizens vote against it. I would certainly encourage them to do so. Number one, I think as a city, if you're the mayor or a council, the city has to lead by example. If you're telling the citizens in the private sector to be more prudent environmentally, to have better environmental practices, you should be doing it yourself. Also, it makes good economic sense. I mean, the last thing we did just a week and a half ago or so was announce that we were going to ask all metro departments to cut their fleets by 10%, look to moving to buying vehicles that are more fuel efficient. We need to do that because of the price of fuel. So I think you start with what you control, which is the city government, try to set a good example, and then reach out and encourage the private sector to do the same. You can't be Chicken Little. You can't talk about just the merits that come from sound environmental practices. You have to persuade people that you're going to make money, you're going to save money if you follow sound environmental practices. When we recycle in Nashville, that is fewer amounts of waste that we're putting into landfills. When we put something in landfills, we're paying for it. When we're recycling, we're getting money back. So it's just better for the city to do that. In terms of having better energy policies and preserving energy, we're going to save money. So I think the way you communicate this to people broadly is that it not only makes sense environmentally in terms of the future of the planet, the future of our city and our state, but it makes sense economically. When the federal government increased its minimum wage last year, that was a very positive step. I don't know that cities can do that on their own. You don't want a city to become isolated in terms of economic competition that it is unable to compete with surrounding areas. But clearly we face those issues of disparity in incomes in our schools, and in housing, and in homelessness, and in health care, probably more than most political entities do. You see it in major American cities, and it's a day-to-day challenge.